Anyone who gazes upon the ark when not permitted is smitten by the Lord, and thousands have died from doing so. 1 Samuel 6:19. This thing is lethal. There are also stories to this day of impure men who, upon approaching the ark, are killed. The only man presently allowed to access it is supposedly an Ethiopian priest at the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Aksum, Ethiopia, where the ark is said to currently reside. And it is believed by the Ethiopians to have been brought there by King Solomon's firstborn son Menelik. This information and many more revealing facts about the ark can be found in the Kebra Nagast. According to this book, once Menelik had reached adulthood, he returned to Jerusalem to meet with his father Solomon, and later brought the ark back with him to Ethiopia. The ark is a thing of fire. Aba Tesfa Marium, so-called guardian of the ark in Aksum, Ethiopia. Jets of fire. Greek fire, also known as medium fire, Roman fire, war fire, liquid fire, processed fire, and present-day napalm, was used in warfare since 673 AD, but may have also been used by the Byzantine Empire as far back as 500 BC. It was invented by a Syrian engineer named Kallinikos. It is said to have been used by the Byzantine Empire 500 BC. This awesome weapon was deployed through tubed flamethrowers, with the fuel being blown by men, using a powerful and prolonged breath. A match or lamp was held at one end to ignite the fuel as it was pneumatically projected through these tubes, which according to recent studies could reach temperatures of 1000 degrees Celsius and produce a whirlwind of fire up to 15 meters using a simple mixture of crude oil and wood resins, the recipe of which was kept top secret by a select minority. Pressurized siphons were also produced and used on ships to spray jets of fire onto an enemy in a spiral-like fashion. Some sources suggest these tubed flamethrowers may have been the earliest cannons also, as the discharge of Greek fire from these pressurized siphons was followed by thunder and much smoke. Coincidentally, one midrash says jets of fire were projected from the underside of the Ark of the Covenant, clearing a path through rough terrain and dangerous creatures like snakes and scorpions. LDHEL 7. Operating these flamethrowers was extremely dangerous, and the men wielding these weapons were well trained beforehand. Although having jets of fire protruding from its base, as stated in the Midrash, this would be of little use at Jericho. This is not to rule out the Jewish belief that jets of fire were used as weapons back in the Old Testament, however, considering there are documented accounts of Greek fire dating as far back as Joshua's campaign. Among many other unfathomable Ark stories is the one in Revelation, where an earthquake follows its reappearance. Here we have an earthquake attributed to the Ark, and ample evidence to support the earthquake theory at Jericho also. Is this a coincidence, or is the Ark actually capable of generating an earthquake? God is certainly capable, and this sacred relic represented God himself in physical form, with awesome powers to prove so. The greatest weapon of all. The Ark of the Covenant is also known as the Ark of the Testimony, which in biblical terms means to either share a life experience that encouraged one to become a Christian, or, like in this case, It is particularly noteworthy due to its involvement with God. Therefore, it contained all these noteworthy involvements: the Torah / Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible written by Moses. And it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book, until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites that bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, Take this book of the law, and put it in by the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against thee. Deuteronomy 31:24-26. The ark also contained the tablets of stone upon which the 10 Commandments were written, and possibly other Old Testament books as and when they were written. The Ark of the Testimony. The clue is in the name. When the ark was used in battles, it was always considered to be of the most importance, naturally. And the righteous man considers knowledge of the law to be more important than riches or power. This is what helped the Israelites win all of their battles, and they could not live without it, literally. Eli dies when he receives the fatal news of the Lost Ark. Losing such a precious relic containing much knowledge and the law would be disastrous enough for any man to drop dead, and, unfortunately, Eli met the same fate as many others who were cursed by the ark's supernatural powers. Whatever else the ark might contain, the most important item in it is the law, which is still used to this day. As long as the Israelites had the ark in their possession, they were assured God was with them and would help defeat their enemies. If not a weapon destroying cities, it was an assurance from God, symbolizing that the law-abiding army would prevail, because with law there is order, and with order there is competence. The ark was used for storing what was most important to the children of Israel, worshipping God, communicating with God, instilling a physical presence of God as a compromise for the Israelites' inability to fathom the intangible, distracting, confusing, and frightening the enemy, its mystical power and the use as a weapon, morale of the troops on the battlefield, law and order. Many theorists believe the ark may have been some kind of communications device or weapon. But let us start with what we know for sure. It is also called the Ark of the Testimony, as it holds the law and the Torah and, in my opinion, other books, testimonies of the Bible as and when they were written. Yes, Joshua used it to communicate with the Lord, but this is easily done through prayer without the need of a radio communications device. The Ark is a sacred chest holding holy relics and is worshipped. This may easily explain the communication with the divine, and it does not necessarily have to be a radio or an antenna. The chosen men of God would kneel before the ark to worship and gain a personal relationship with him. This is difficult for many non-Christians to understand, because they only see the physical realm and not the spiritual. Many make this mistake because they attempt to explain the Bible physically and literally, when faith is anything but, and they ultimately fail with their attempts. God does not favour non-believers enough to interpret his book. The Ark is more important than a radio or weapon. It holds the 10 Commandments, the most important laws of all time, hence its attention, conservation and perpetuation. Possession of the Ark was essential for this battle, along with many others. and it was imperative it never fell into enemy hands, because with it the troops were assured that God was with them. It played a pivotal role at Jericho, but with powers aside, it was good for morale and as a distraction, just as the majority of this battle is.